Today's video, how to get money into Ecuador. Expats are always asking, what is the cheapest way to transfer money into Ecuador? So in today's video, I am going to show you the 3 cheapest options for transferring your money from the US into Ecuador so you can say goodbye to those exorbitant fees forever. I'm also going to show you how you can get your first international transfer absolutely free. Ready? Awesome. Let's go. G'day expats, I'm Jason, a digital nomad from Australia that fell in love with Ecuador and never left. Our channel, Expats Ecuador, provides guides on living and traveling in Ecuador. Please subscribe and like this video so we can continue to produce more content just like this. Before we get to the 3 cheapest options of transferring your hard-earned cash into Ecuador, let's cover off 2 basic points. The first one is that Ecuador uses the US dollar as its official currency, and it has done since 2000. The country went through a dollarization process in 2000, and this actually really hurt a lot of local families, at least in the short term, because the value of their assets dropped by 75% overnight. Just crazy stuff. But now that's all in the past. Many expats that live here today actually really like the fact that Ecuador uses the US dollar because A, it's super convenient, but B, it really shields us from a lot of the currency fluctuations that you're going to get in neighboring countries like Peru and Colombia. And the second thing you need to know is that Ecuador is still largely a cash-based society, so please don't come here with all of your fancy Venmo and online shopping expectations. Most shops simply only accept cash. Of course, there's some exceptions like some big supermarkets, Supermaxi, where you can use your debit card or your credit card, but most shops will only accept cash. If they do accept online payments, then this is generally a bank-to-bank transfer. And if you only have an international account and paying a local account here, you're still going to be paying a lot of money in fees if you're trying to make those types of payments. For this video, I'm going to use examples from transferring money from the US into Ecuador. And you can probably tell that I'm not from the US, so why should you listen to some Australian on this? Well, the answer is quite simple. I do a lot of banking for one of my companies through Bank of America in the US, and so I am always transferring money in and out of the United States. And this also means that I am constantly on the lookout for the most cost-effective ways of doing so. So with that background out of the way, let's get to the 3 cheapest options for transferring your cash, but please do stay watching until the end because I will show you how to get your first transfer completely free. The first option is also the one that you're probably the most familiar with, ATMs. ATMs are the most convenient option for short trips when you need to transfer small amounts of around $500 or so. The problem with ATMs are the fees. You see, the Ecuadorian bank is going to charge you around $4 or $5, and this is on top of another $4 or $5 charged by your local bank. So the end result is every single time you visit the magic hole in the wall, it's going to cost you around $10. Now, this may not seem like a huge deal, but for me, putting that in perspective, that $10 equals around 4 local lunches. And I would much rather spend my money on lunches than fees. Now, if you're like me, I have a nice little ATM hack for you. Go sign up for an account with Charles Schwab or Fidelity. Why? Because both of these banks will actually refund your international ATM fees. And the end result is that you can visit as many ATMs as you want and you won't pay an additional cent in international ATM fees. That's a pretty sweet deal, huh? Now, if you're not from the US, that's okay, don't stress. Banks from other countries offer similar deals, you do just need to search for them. For example, in Australia, I know that ING also offers an account where they will refund your international ATM fees. Now, one word of advice when you sign up for these accounts is do not let on that you're leaving the country. Why? Because understandably, these big banks, they have a promise to make as much money to their shareholders as possible, and so they don't want to be shelling out for additional international ATM fees. So when you sign up, make sure you use an address of a friend or a family member that you trust. Don't have any friends, and that's okay. You can use a virtual mailbox service. The one we use is called Traveling Mailbox, and I'll provide a link to this below. Yes. Our second option is at the other end of the spectrum, and it's what we use if you want to transfer a larger amount for $5,000 or more. This is called a wire transfer. Now, the biggest caveat with this method is that you do need to have a local bank account to receive the money, or at least have a very good friend here that you trust to receive the money on your behalf. The two most common reasons why expats use wire transfers are to buy property here and to buy a certificate of deposit. And why would you consider a certificate of deposit here? There's two reasons for that. One is you want it as part of your investor visa. So what you can do is you can transfer $40,000 from outside of Ecuador into Ecuador, chuck it in a certificate of deposit, and voila, you've satisfied one of the main requirements for obtaining an investor visa, which you can use for temporary residency, and that can eventually roll into permanent residency as well. Now, the second reason why you might want a certificate of deposit is simply for the high interest rates. The interest rates here are normally north of 8%. For example, right now, one of the cooperatives that's very popular amongst expats is called JEP, and they currently offer 8.5% interest per annum. Now try and get this at Bank of America. Trust me, I have tried. No luck. But word of warning, if you want to use a cooperativa here to transfer money with a wire transfer, is that most of them don't actually have their own SWIFT accounts, which means that they need to go through an intermediary to conduct that transfer on their behalf, which just takes more time and it costs more money. Our second side note is that you should be aware of Ecuador's anti-money laundering laws. You see, any incoming transaction over $10,000 is going to be immediately flagged for a little bit of additional scrutiny. And what they're looking for is just to make sure that you've obtained this money legally and that you're not some sort of drug trafficker. It's not a significant burden and it shouldn't really delay the transfer time that much for most wire transfers. And this transfer time is normally between 2 days and a week. And how much do these transfers cost? Well, again, it's going to depend a little bit on the bank that you're sending from and to, but expect it to cost around $100, including the fees from your Ecuadorian bank. And because it's a flat fee structure, the greater the amount that you send, the more cost-effective a wire transfer becomes. Our final option is also the one that we use the most because it works best for transfer sizes between $500 and $5,000. These just happen to be our regular transfer sizes, and so this generally keeps us going for a month or two between transfers. Now, if you are interested in knowing how much it costs a family of 4 to live a middle-class life here in Ecuador, I will link to our detailed cost of living article below. Now, for these recurring transactions, we do prefer to use an online transfer company called World Remit. And the reason that we use World Remit is because they have the best fees, and we've found them to have the smoothest user experience, which just makes the whole process nice, quick, and easy. Before we continue, I feel I need to do a little bit of myth busting. I am always seeing people recommending transfer options that simply do not work with Ecuador. The two most common are wires, formerly transfer wires, and PayPal. Now, I love using wires. I'm a big fan and I routinely use them to transfer in and out of countries that are not Ecuador. The reality is, they just don't work with Ecuador at this point in time, and you can see here on their drop-down, it's not in their list of supported countries. So I beg you, please stop recommending wires as an option for transferring money into Ecuador. It is simply not an option, so please stop. PayPal isn't Ecuadorian friendly either. You may find some businesses that do accept transactions via PayPal, but these are going to be linked to their international bank account. They're not going to be linked to their Ecuadorian bank account. So please stop recommending PayPal as a viable option for transferring money internationally into Ecuador. It simply isn't. In saying that, PayPal does own its own online money transfer service called Zoom. It's pronounced X-O-O-M. I don't know why or when we started pronouncing X's as Z, but apparently we do now. But the reason that we don't use Zoom is the fees. It's the same as Western Union. A lot of expats swear by Western Union, and I get it, they're a big company, the transfers are reliable, but the fees are higher than we pay with World Remit. For example, if I want to transfer $3,000, I will pay $30 in fees if I use Zoom. I'll pay $20 in fees if I use Western Union, but I'll only pay $15 in fees if I use World Remit. And so given that the World Remit fees are half of those of Zoom, it's a pretty easy choice for us. So how do you use World Remit to send money to Ecuador? It's really quite simple, and I'm going to show you in a quick demo now. I've already logged in, so I just need to choose the country I'm sending to, which is Ecuador. Now I need to choose the transfer method, which is going to be bank transfer. Now, which bank do I want to send it to? I'm going to select any USD account at any other bank. You'll find a bunch of banks under this setting. And the amount is going to be $3,000. And you can see the fee automatically updates here, and this fee is going to be $15. That's on top of the transfer amount, so my total transfer is going to be $3,015. Now I need to choose who I want to send this to. I can either do a new recipient, or I'm going to choose myself because I've already sent the transaction to myself, and by doing this, it saves all of my details. And so this is super helpful. This makes the transaction a lot quicker. The only thing that you really need to look out for on this page that I found is the bank name. WorldRemit supports so many different banks and cooperativas in Ecuador that it can actually be a little bit confusing. I mean, look at all these cooperativas here with very, very similar names. Even finding my particular cooperativa was a little bit difficult. I did need to email WorldRemit support to find the name of my bank. And the bank that I use, in case you're in a similar position, is JET. I know a lot of expats do use JET, and so if you are looking for that, what you're looking for is Coop Ahora y Crédito Juventud. Alright, all the details are correct. Choose my payment method. I always choose debit card because if I use a credit card, then my bank would charge me a cash advance on that. And because I've already used this card previously, again, it saved my details. So I will just click on that now, just put my CVV in, and I'm good. That's it. That's all there is to it. Now, I'm not actually going to put my CVV in here and click continue because I don't actually need to make a transfer right now, but you get the idea. That's the process. The whole process took less than 2 minutes to complete, and the money should be in my account the same day. I will receive several follow-up email notifications as the transaction makes its way through to Ecuador. Now that's it. It's pretty easy, right? Simple enough for my grandma to stop sending me birthday cards full of cash, and now she can send that money directly into my bank account in Ecuador. Love you, Grandma. And as promised, now I'm going to show you how you can get your first transfer completely free with WorldRemit. It's really quite simple. All you need to do is use my refer a friend link when you sign up to their service, and this way they're going to send you a $20 credit which you can use for your first transfer so long as that transfer is more than $100. And $20 credit, that's enough to send the maximum amount of $5,000 into Ecuador. So your first transfer into Ecuador will be completely free. Now, full disclaimer, I will also get a $20 credit for referring you, so my next transfer will also be free. So summarizing our recommendations based on the amount that you want to send. First off, for anything that's $500 or less, we recommend ATMs, especially if you're using a Fidelity or a Charles Schwab or another bank that offers to refund the international ATM fees. Secondly, for anything between $600 and $5,000, we recommend online transfer service WorldRemit. Please feel free to use my coupon code if you want to get your first transfer for free. Thirdly, we have anything that's more than $5,000, we generally recommend the wire transfer. I'd really love to hear from you if you're using a different method than the ones that we've described, especially if those fees are more competitive than what we currently use. So please feel free to leave your comments below, and whilst you're at it, maybe like our video. Anyway, that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Yeah. My cat's just going to the toilet, so I need to wait. Can you hear him? Come on, Zuko. Oh yeah. It's a delicate process. So how's the weather? Oh, that's great. It's been raining here a lot. It's actually the most rain we've had here in a long time. The rivers here in Cuenca are just completely surging. Shut up, Sidus. Sidus, shut up.